Hey, how are you? Hope all of you are well. It's your CPA Manish here today on Friday, the 17th of June, 2022, bringing to you the next installment in the series of videos on pension planning, something for everyone. I think this is our fourth video in the series. In the first three videos, what we discussed is why we should do pension planning, what are the advantages of doing pension planning. We also discussed how traditional pension is different from Roth pension. So we discussed that. Then we discussed that most of the plans, if you withdraw money before you are 59 and a half years old, you might hit with some penalties. So you want to avoid withdrawing money before you're 59 and a half. And then we discussed what is a matching concept. Matching concept is if the employee contributes, the employer would contribute. For the employees who do not contribute, the employer does not contribute. That is the matching concept. So this is what we discussed in our first video. In the second video, we discussed individual retirement accounts where you can put in $6,000 to $7,000. In traditional IRA, we also discussed Roth IRA and spousal IRA. And in that video, we also discussed what is backdoor IRA, how it can be done, who should do it, and who should not do it. So we discussed all that in our second video. And then in the third video, we discussed the 401k plans, the traditional 401k, the Roth 401k, where the employees can put in $20,500. If they are older, they can put in $27,000 as deferral from their salaries. And then the employer can opt to match between 4 and 6%. They may or may not match. And they also have the control over who can participate and who cannot participate to decide the qualifications for this particular plan. So those were the first three videos. And today in the fourth video, we are going to discuss the pension plans for self-employed individuals or small and medium-sized businesses. 401k, of course, is an option, but in addition to 401k, there are other options that you have. So those are the options that we are going to discuss that is available to self-employed individuals or to small and medium-sized businesses. Before we start with the presentation, legal disclaimer that all that we discuss in all these videos is only for your entertainment and education purposes. Nothing should be construed as a kind of legal or tax advice. With that, let me start sharing my screen so that we can move ahead with the presentation. So these are the plans that we are going to discuss today for small businesses or self-employed individuals. The first plan that is available to you, that is called as a solo 401k plan. And if you see the dollar amount compared to the 401k option, the solo 401k, it allows you to put in up to $61,000 in this plan. If you are 50 years or older, then you can put $67,500 in this solo 401k plan. The 61,000 or 67,500 is not a flat dollar amount. It is linked to your net profit. It is linked to your net income. So this calculation is based on a formula. But the maximum, as you see, is much higher compared to that $20,500 and $27,000 that we discussed. So solo 401k is almost three times compared to the traditional 401k that you can do. But the drawback of this plan is you cannot do this plan. You cannot do a solo 401k plan if you have any employees. You cannot do a solo 401k plan if you have any employees. If you have a spouse who is working for you in the business, then that spouse is okay. So you are okay, spouse is okay. But other than you and your spouse, if you have your kids working for your business, or if you have any employees in your business, then you cannot do this higher level of plan, which is the solo 401k plan. So with employees, you cannot do this. Otherwise, this is 3 times the traditional 401k. If you do not have employees, this is a good option for you. If you have employees, you cannot do solo 401k, but then you can do what is called as a SEP IRA plan. You can do SEP IRA plan. And like solo 401k, even for SEP IRA, the limits are $61,000 and $67,500 based on your net income, based on a formula. But the drawback of doing SEP IRA is, even though you can do this with employees, now the employees will get as much percentage contribution as you're doing for your own self. So we discussed the solo 401k. It cannot be done if you have employees. Now, if you have employees, you want to do SEP IRA, you still can get a higher contribution, right? But then whatever percentage you do for your own self, the same percentage you will have to contribute for your employees also. So say, for example, you are contributing 20% of your income into SEP IRA, 20% for yourself, 20% of your income into SEP IRA. Then for the employees also, you will have to contribute 20% of their gross salaries into SEP IRA. So solo 401k and SEP IRA, they both have higher limits. They both allow you to do the 61,000 and the 67,500. But the solo 401k you cannot do if you have employees. If you have spouse, that's fine. But with employees, you cannot do the solo 401k. With employees, you can do a SEP IRA. But when you do SEP IRA with employees, if you're contributing 20% for yourself, you have to contribute 20% for employees also. Okay, so there is an advantage, but then there is a drawback. They give it something, but then they take away something. So be careful about it. If you see the last column on the screen, the employees who are 21 years or older and who would have made $600 during the year, and if the employees worked for you for 3 out of 5 previous years, those employees will become eligible and you will have to contribute for them. Okay, so you are fine if your employee is less than 21 years old. You're fine if the employee is making less than $600 in a year, which is very, very improbable. But you're fine if the employee has not worked for you for 3 years. If the employee is in the first year or second year, not yet completed the third year, you're fine. Okay. So the SEP IRA, the drawback is, the advantage is you can do SEP IRA with employees. The drawback is whatever you contribute for yourself, the higher percentage you have to contribute for your employees also. But then remember this, if the employees are still in the first or the second year, they have not completed the third year, then you do not have to contribute for the employees. So you contribute the higher number for yourself and you do not have to contribute for the employees. So SEP IRA does make sense if you are in the first or the second year where your employees have not reached the 3-year mark. SEP IRA makes sense in that atmosphere. Okay. So solo 401k plan, SEP IRA. The next plan is called simple IRA plan. But then let me first go to the fourth plan, which we have already discussed. The fourth plan that we have already discussed is the 401k plan, the traditional 401k, the Roth 401k, where you and or the employees can contribute up to $20,500 from their salaries. If they are 50 years or older, they can contribute $27,000. And the employer matches between 4 to 6%. We have discussed this in the previous video. Why I'm bringing this into picture? because 401k has higher limits, $20,500 and $27,000. If you do the third plan on the screen, which is the simple IRA plan, then you are able to contribute lesser amount. You are able to contribute 14,000. If you're more than 50 years old, you are able to contribute 17,000 out of the salary. And you can match 3% for the employees. Very few people have simple IRA, because if you are going for simple IRA, you might as well consider going into 401k plan. The simple IRA and 401k plan both work similarly, only the limits are different. And simple IRA has lesser limits, 14,000 and 17,000. You might as well want to have the option to do a little bit higher, do $20,500 or $27,000. So in my mind, if you have the option of doing simple IRA and 401k, you might as well want to consider doing 401k and not do simple IRA. That doesn't mean people do not do simple IRA. People do simple IRA. But in my mind, if you're going for simple IRA, you might as well step a little bit higher and have the option of doing 401k. Okay. So if you categorize these three plans for small businesses, I would say these are three plans. Plan number one, if you do not have employees, go for solo 401k, which gives you a higher contribution. Step number one, I again repeat, if you do not have employees, go for solo 401k with higher contribution. Step number two, if you have employees other than your spouse, if you have employees, you cannot do the solo 401k, you cannot do the first plan. Let us do the second plan, which is a SEP IRA plan. But then with SEP IRA plan, only do if your employees are in the first or the second year of employment. Before they reach the 3-year mark, you do SEP IRA. That is your step number two. So step number one, if you do not have employees. Step number two, if you have employees, but they are in the initial years, you do the SEP IRA plan. And when you fall beyond that, meaning that when you have employees who have already crossed 3 years in employment, then you go to the step number three. In step number three, you have two options. You can do either 401k or you can do a simple IRA. In my mind, you should go for 401k. It allows the employees and you to put a little bit more compared to simple IRA. It is not a lot different, but it's a little bit more than simple IRA. So that is the third option for you as self-employed individuals or small businesses. I hope this small summary helps. Trying to put everything into one screen so that it's easy for you to understand what options you have available. In the next video, which would be our last video in the series, I'm going to also demonstrate how you can add profit sharing feature and defined benefit feature into your 401k plan. And thereby you can boost your contribution into your pension plan. So that is going to be our next video, which I think will be the last one. So I look forward to seeing you there. In the meantime, take care, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.